Hello, welcome back. Sean here, Mountains Garage. Early Saturday morning, January 2025. It's a beautiful day, a little bit chilly. The weather's been cold this week, but the next chance of snow is sometime next week, so we're doing all right. January is getting towards the end already. The days, statistically, after yesterday, trend warmer. There may be a few cold days thrown in, but statistically, yesterday they claim was the low point of the year, and I think that applies to everybody. But today we're going to make the final installment on my 377 small block Chevy project until I test run it. But I was going to build a test run stand, and that's in the future. So for now, I'm pretty much done with it. If you've been following along, there's videos on my channel. I need to update my playlist. I recently got a laptop, which makes that a lot easier to take all the videos pertaining to the 377 and put them all in one spot. So I will do that. This project was my brother's initial engine he was going to put in his Model A. He picked up a aftermarket block back when they were more affordable than they are now, that's for sure, and a better rotating assembly, etc. And he's going to build another motor. It freed up these parts, and I decided it'd be great to build my first nice small block Chevy for myself. I've done it for other people and other reasons, but me, never. Always big blocks and LS motors and stuff. So the block is a 402 bolt block. Good foundation. Again, our target power originally was around 400-ish. Now we're probably a little more than that. We're never going to find out for real other than the seat of the pants. It will never see a dyno other than just driving it and enjoying it. So 402 bolt block, scat, cast steel crank, and scat rods. A nice set of sealed power pistons. I believe I calculated the compression ratio at like 10.8 or 10.9. Perfect for a street motor if you ask me, especially when you got a pretty large camshaft. I retrofitted a Chevrolet windage tray out of like a early 70s Z28. I have this 7-quart pan I had to clip the corners of. I'll do a walk around video because me pointing doesn't do you much good. To clear the steering at full lock on my 56 wagon, I mocked up a block in there. And the pan, and I could tell this aftermarket pan that I bought, was interfering with the steering at maximum lock. So I just clipped the corners off it and TIG welded it back up. Painted it up, put oil pan studs in a one-piece seal. I'm hoping it's nice and dry when we run it. I don't like leaks. The cam and lifters are comp cams. Back when comp cams probably, I don't know, the whole industry as a whole, I think it's well used. At this point, it's probably 15 years old. Not well used, lightly used, I should say. But it's old enough to be, hopefully, a quality product. I bought it from a guy who put it in his Z28 and thought it was a little too rump, if you want to express it that way. So he put something milder in it. So it had minimal street miles, and it was an excellent deal that I picked up. The parts of this engine has changed along the way, mostly by happenstance, and then standing back and thinking, would that be a good fit? So I didn't necessarily have to use any of the parts, but I had them. And this cam, my brother picked up a nice Lenati flat tappet. Again, this thing's 15 years old at this point. It's gold because it's not the cheese camshaft you're getting today. You could probably put it in, break it in, and run just fine. It was a bracket master camshaft, but I happened across this roller cam, and why not? Why not? I had to modify my brand new Mylodon cast aluminum timing cover. I wanted a nice sturdy cover. I put a nylon bushing or cam button on the cam, set the end play. Short block is pretty much done. It has a milling, high volume, high pressure pump. Plenty of oil on tap. I don't think it's going to be a problem. If it is, I'll let you know. But a lot of people are afraid of the high volume. Me, I want it because I'm trying to keep the valvetrain alive on the street. The more roller stuff you put in there, the more temperamental the valvetrain could become. Originally, I had picked up a set of Liberty Performance 200cc heads. They were pre-drilled with the steam ports that a 400 block has. I won't say required because that's a whole nother argument that people talk about on the small block Chevy forums every day. I use those heads on my ZZ383 that I picked up. I used short block. I use those heads and a Lingenfelter cam, etc. And that went in the Gold Nova. It's still happily running today and runs really well, really strong. I had picked up the cylinder heads I used on this engine. They're ATK. The part number was SBC 64185. So small block Chevy, 64cc combustion chamber, 185cc port. Now, this motor's a 377, so that's a 400 block. It's bored, so it's 4.155 bore. Small 350 Chevy crank, which is 3.48. So with the bore being over a ½ inch larger than the stroke, that typically makes for a higher revving engine power-wise. This is a hydraulic roller, so it's going to be all done at 6,500 at the most. Probably all done at 6,000. So with that in mind, the 200cc heads, in theory, were probably a better match size-wise, because nowadays cylinder heads, even for a small block Chevy, get quite large. You don't want it too large. So my thinking was, one, I had these beautiful heads and they're made in America. 185 might make, for a nice high velocity, crisp throttle response engine, hoping for a nice driver. What I found out, which was really nice to find out, sometimes when you get parts, you do a little studying, that ATK had Profiler cast these heads for them right here in America. They used all good parts when they assembled them. But that's why I had trouble putting on the dual quad intake that I originally had. These intake ports are raised, and I had to get a manifold with a large enough port to even cover the intake port. What ATK did specify with Profiler is to not move the exhaust port. If you had the same head made by Profiler, I don't know if you can see me, but instead of the exhaust bolts being in the middle of the port, they raised the port only and left the bolts where they were, causing lots of headaches trying to bolt up a set of headers. I found all this information after the fact on the forum, but I was quite surprised at what I thought was just a nice innocent set of made in USA heads by an aftermarket engine company. They're really considered one of the nicest, highest flowing, highest performance head you can get for a small block Chevy for a relatively low buck. I mean, there's pie in the sky options out there, but for a set of heads I picked up from my buddy Ken that he picked up somewhere else, turned out to be a gem for sure. These cylinder heads already had a hydraulic roller spring for up to 600 lift. The Cam's cam that I picked up was in the 560 range with a 1.5 rocker. I had a set of 1.6 rockers, and that's what it got. So do the math, we're closer to 600 than we were when we started. Advertised duration on this cam is 294, 300. That's like 248, 250 at 50. I think it's a 110 lobe separation. It should be pretty healthy sounding and running engine. I was unsure what to do about the steam ports until I picked up a set of used lightly Edelbrock heads for my 421 small block, which we gotta jump on next. I want to get them all assembled and sitting here ready to run instead of laying around in parts. The Edelbrock instructions tell you, if you have a 400 block with steam holes, to only drill the lower holes, and those are the easy ones. They just go straight in. You take the gasket, set it on the cylinder head, mark the 3 holes, and they go straight in to the water port. It's the upper hole that's a trick. You got to drill it like a 30-degree angle. And with everything moved around, I raised runner ports, all that stuff, that sounds like you could ruin a set of heads. So my choices, as I contemplated it, were to do nothing and see what happens, or at least drill the bottom holes. That was easy. It took me a few minutes. And I have them functioning, at least that set. So the idea is to get, steam. It's not really steam. It's kind of like the LS. You need to get the air out of the block, and do your own research. Trust me, it's a whole chapter book on steam holes on a stock 400 block. The whole 400 and 383 and 350 cranks in a 400 to make a 377 all became popular before aftermarket blocks became more prevalent, and people are still building them. If you're going to start from scratch and you got the scratch, I'd probably start with an aftermarket block. In this case, this block was machined, sitting there bare. My biggest worry, my brother had it wrapped up nice, it never rusted. I kept it all oiled, this and the 421 block, for a couple of years, making me nervous that one day I'm going to look at it and it's rusty. That's still a fear of mine. Even this engine, before I put the spark plugs in, I sprayed everything down with 336 or WD-40 inside the cylinders, hosed it right in the spark plug hole, rotated the engine around, sprayed the whole valve train. I am deathly afraid of ruining an engine with needless rust from neglect. For an induction intake manifold carburetor combination, I had the gamut. Originally, my brother had given me a low-rise dual quad manifold. I bought brand new 500 Elderbrox, and it seemed fitting to use it on, his engine, if you will. And the trouble I just mentioned with the intake ports prevented me from doing that. I had found a tunnel ram that fit. I was going to put a tunnel ram on it, but I think 100%, 95% sure this is going in my 56 Chevy wagon. And I want to run a stock hood. So single 4-barrel it was. This Elderbrock Victor Jr. that was CNC ported came with the Elderbrock heads I just mentioned. The tunnel ram that was sitting on this is going on the 421. That's a done deal. That's the way it's going to happen. So I put the Victor Jr. on this. It was a nice match. When you look down the ports, it's just perfect. The carburetor is currently sitting on this is an 850 Holley, but I have a 750 that's right behind the camera that I need to overhaul. Nice, good unit I picked up from a friend of a friend. I think that's a better choice for starters. It would take the 850, I'm sure, but either way, the ignition system is, we covered this most recently, but it's a Mallory Comp SS that came with another engine I bought, another small block that also needs repair here on the old Mountains Garage channel. It has advance. We set it all up, a set of cell wires, I believe, NGK. They're 7 heat range plugs, all aftermarket heads, small and big block Chevy, for the most part, 14 millimeter, 3/4 reach with a gasket, not taper seat. They have a gasket seat. So that's what these heads take. That's what the 496 takes. I just tightened them up this morning in the 496. I keep a bunch of them in stock. You got to start somewhere in the heat range. 7 seemed like a good spot. So that's what we got. Got a MSD Blaster 3 coil that I had sitting around used. That's all done. I spent probably more time than I should have adapting this air cleaner that I've done everything but shorten the stud. I now have my fresh air for my PCV system. Air's going that way from the filtered air from the air filter. And the PCV valves over here going to the back of the carburetor, making a complete circle. It actually fits quite nice. I got to shorten my stud a little bit, come up with a nice nut after I put my nylon washer on there and everything. So got to plug a few ports and stuff, and we're essentially ready to run. Current plans have the 56 wagon having manual steering, so the pulleys and alternator setup couldn't be any simpler. Single groove, alternator bracket happens to be polished stuff. You can pick up the polished stuff for the price of regular stuff these days if you shop around. The fuel line we just built has a Carter mechanical pump that you can clock. I bought 2 of them at the time, so I was building the 421 at the same time. One of them came threaded with more positions than the other one. I drilled and tapped the other one and set them both the same. I like them to look pretty much how a stock fuel pump would have the orientation of the hoses. Same goes for setting the plug wires. Number 1 should always be the furthest forward on the driver's side if you're sitting in the seat. That's the way Chevrolet always did it. And other than having the type of distributor cap that gives you 4 on each side and all the spidery is done inside the cap, which makes for a really nice, neat installation, I prefer to put the plug wires where Chevrolet intended. I enjoy building engines and other things. It does get repetitive. Like by the time I put the first piston in, I'm ready to do something else because you've cut all the rings. You have to do it 8 times. But I get past that. Fun for me. I've spent the last few weeks not steady, but perfecting the outside dress. So in the future, it's easy to work on. Everything functions. It doesn't, plug wires don't burn, etc. I had a flexible dipstick. They work out okay on a big block because they're further down in the pan. On a small block, it hammers into the head, into the block next to the cylinder head. I'm going to go around the camera and show you, but I bought a stock appearing dipstick, drove it in. I was actually able to finish filling the oil pan with the sweet tea, which is my 2 drums of 1540 I have over there. I picked up from an old guy who had a couple dump trucks, and he sold the trucks and didn't need all the spare oil that he had. Again, older oil that has not been stripped of all the goodness. So 1540 is a fine choice for a summer vehicle. You can run it in the wintertime if you wanted to, but again, oil theories and weights, it's a feel-good thing for a lot of people. And there's a lot of science behind it. Form your own opinion. I have my own opinion. In this case, I'm using what I have. I always add a bottle of zinc. Cheap insurance, especially on my boats and stuff. Well, my boat has 2 motors. That makes me feel good. Something so simple as to dump in a bottle of goop in there, hoping it prevents you from having trouble. So that's it for this morning. 377 is, for all intents and purposes, done until it makes noise. So have a great Saturday, a great weekend, and I'll catch you soon. Me, I'm back to home improvement today. Take her easy. Again, the red plug's temporary.